forgot my name for a second. I was gonna start with karate chopped. That's not my name. The next step is for us to head over to the cooking device, which is also known as a stove.
You want to do pandas or Harry Potter? Which one are we going to pick? Harry Potter? Do you want to do Harry Potter? Yeah.
Hi! Hi, I'm Sensei Alexis, and welcome to Karate Chopped. On today's episode, we are going to be making rosemary mushroom pork chops. And you know, I have to tell the joke. What do you call a pig that does karate? A pork chop. Ba-dum-bum. Yeah, alright, it's corny, I know. But our recipe today is going to be for a single serving of a delicious pork chop that we are going to simmer in a rosemary sauce. Rosemary and garlic, which is amazing. So the smell in here, it's gonna be epic. So, that being said, let's get into our ingredients. For tonight's recipe, we need half a cup of Portobello mushrooms. 1 clove of garlic, and it needs to be minced. And now that garlic is minced. 1/4 teaspoon of rosemary. You can use fresh or dried. 1/4 cup of low sodium chicken broth. 1/8 teaspoon of salt and 1/8 teaspoon of ground pepper. 5 ounces of green beans. 1 9-ounce boneless pork chop. Alright, step number 1, we need to combine our rosemary, our salt, and our pepper. So we're going to the salt and the pepper into our mortar and pestle. Or is it the other way around? I can never remember. But anyway, we've got the mortar and pestle, which is basically just a way to grind things up. So let's it in there. All the salt and pepper. Perfect. And our rosemary. Since we're using fresh rosemary in our recipe this evening, we have some bits that have been kind of chopped up a little bit. So we're going to take the sprig and I'll put it to the side. And we've got our chopped up bits of rosemary, and we're going to add them to the mortar and pestle. Epic. Okay. Now we just have to get in there and grind them around. What's going to start to happen is the ridges of the bowl and then the graininess and the grit of the salt and the pepper are giving the rosemary something to break down against. And what we're doing is we're getting the rosemary to release the oils. And you can see it's starting to make a paste in there. If you don't have a mortar and pestle, then you can do the same thing that we're doing in here, just on a cutting board, but you'll be doing it with a spoon, and you just press the bottom of the spoon into your cutting board with the rosemary underneath it. And by doing that, you're using the grit of the salt and the pepper to do the same exact thing. Just combine the oils of the rosemary into the salt and pepper. Let's ninja time. This is going to take like a couple more minutes of just grinding it down, and then we'll come back in a second. Perfect. Our rosemary has been ground to a pulp. And if you take a look on the inside of our bowl here, we've got it all ground up, and the smell is amazing. Combined together, we've got the oils coming through. And so now what we need to do is prepare our pork chop so that it can receive a coating of this deliciousness. So let's bring that pork chop over here. All right, so we've got our pork chop on the cutting board here. And typically, when you get a pork chop from the grocery store, they're about 1 inch to 3/4 inch thick. This one is sort of massive size. And the trouble with pork is it can, when you're cooking it, it can sometimes get a little bit dry. So in order to make sure that we can cook it quickly we're going to pound this down. Now, before we get to the fun part where we get to beat it up, we need to remove some of the fat from around the outside. So we are going to prepare it by taking our knife and just, you don't need to remove all of it. Having some fat on the pork chop is going to help it cook and stay moist. Plus, tastes good. But we do want to take the bigger chunks off. So if we get it in there, and then a little bit this way. Look at me using the knife the right way this time. And I think we're about there on removing the fat. And as you can see, this is a very, very thick pork chop. So it needs to be pulverized. Well, not pulverized. Pulverized would mean like it looks more like that. So instead we're just going to tenderize it. You can do this with a bunch of different options. You can put it inside a plastic bag and use a hammer. You can use a tool like this, which is, I believe the technical term is meat tenderizer. I know that I finally call this the child masher. So this is where we get to take out some of our rage and frustration and just, let it go. Remember to breathe. Oh, that's really satisfying. Kind of felt like animal a little bit, but let's flip it over. Now we get the other side. That's entirely too much fun. I'm going to continue with this until we get our pork chop down to about an inch thick. See you in a... Oh, should I ninja time with it? Yes. Ready. Okay, I gotta put this down. It's way too much fun. Okay. Alright, pork chop has been tenderized and it's thinner so it'll cook a little more evenly. And now we are going to move on to the next step. No more tenderizing. Okay, so we're gonna add the spices to the top of it. Alright, okay. So we're gonna take this really awesome smelling mix that we have and we're just going to coat it over the top. So I'm gonna do about half on this side and just kind of rub it in. And that just gives us a little bit of a seasoning for when we put it in to sear it. Because remember that sear is where we get the awesome browning action that's going to give us all of the flavor. So we want the seasonings to be right on the top and then flip it over. Ki-ai! Oh, I didn't ki-ai the seasoning on there. Well, I had to do half, so okay. All right, let's do the rest. Ki-ai! Rub that in. Pork chop has been adequately seasoned and tenderized. So let's move on to our next step. Ki-ai! All right, we're setting the pork to the side and it's just gonna kind of hang out, let the seasonings absorb in a little bit while we prepare the next step. So we're gonna bring over our mini portobello mushrooms. If you didn't catch our episode previously where we made taco stuffed portobello mushrooms, go check that recipe out because they're amazing. In that episode, we had to remove everything on the inside. For this one, we're gonna leave it because it's just adding flavor. What we do want to do is cut off the part of the stem that's sticking out. So all we need to do from here is just kind of run the blade of the knife down where the cap ends, and that's the rest of it's gonna be what we stick into our meal. So stem is off to the side. And then I was instructed on the proper way to chop something because apparently my fingers were in danger the last time. I didn't even ki-ai. Chopped so many times and I didn't even ki-ai. Alright, we're gonna do one at the end. We'll call that the one ki-ai. Ready? Ki-ai. So let's see if I do it a little bit more correctly this time. So first we're gonna go a long ways so you don't have a giant chunk of mushroom. Ki-ai. See the seesawing action? All right, and then we're gonna turn it sideways, tuck our fingers under and hold on to the back end of the mushroom, and then let the knife do the work instead of trying to mash it, cut down this way. All right, so we'll go from the edge here. Tiny one. You see my fingers creeping out there? Clearly, I just need more practice. all the way down here like this. Look at that. Safe fingers, good knife work. I'm complimenting myself. All right, putting this one to the side. Let's do one more. Let's do the really big one in the bottom. Okay. Let's chop this stem off. Same thing, right from there. And then we go a long ways. We're going to choose the really long way. Down this way. Turn it to the side. Fingers tucked away safely. And use the blade of the knife to do the work. And we're just cutting this mushroom into slices so that we can cook it up. Perfect. And we do have a bunch more mushrooms to cut, not just the one in there, but a bunch to get our total weight worth. So let's ninja time all of those chopped. Ki! Perfect. Our mushrooms have multiplied. No, we just chopped them all finally. All right, our mushrooms are set to go. That means next up, before we get cooking, because that pork chop is still thinking about getting even more delicious, we're gonna let it sit there a tiny bit longer so that we can prepare our green beans. So let's get those on the chopping block. Ki! All right, green beans on the chopping block. When we're preparing green beans to be cooked, we need to remove the stem end. So let's get these all together. And tap them against the board so that way, regardless of how long they are on that end, all of the green bean butts are together on that side. One good chop. Careful of the fingers. Ki! And we're not removing very much. It's just that end piece where the stem is. So there we go. Green beans prepared. The mushrooms are prepared. Next step, we're going to head over to the stove to start cooking our pork chop. Ki! All right, moved over to the stove. We are going to turn the stove on to a medium-high heat and let the pan heat up. There we go. We're going to make sure that we spray the pan with some olive oil. That's going to add to the flavor and keep the pork chop from sticking to the pan. So try to get it all in the pan instead of spraying across the stovetop like we did last time. Yeah, that was pretty good. All right, pork chop with our delicious seasonings goes into this pan that is preheated. And you'll hear the sizzle. Just starting to sizzle there. 2 minutes on this side. So we've got our timer going. 2 minutes. Catch you on the flip side. Ki! 2 minutes. Time to flip it over. Look at that sear. Same thing on this side. Exactly the same. 2 minutes starting now. Ki! Ki! Happy New Year! I mean, pork time. Timer's done. This comes out. Come on, pork. You can do it. There we go. Slide it onto our washed plate. And now we're going to spritz the pan with some olive oil and quickly toss in our garlic. And this needs about 20 seconds to get golden. So we're just gonna give this a little toss around here, get it all into the oil. Oh man, cooking garlic. If the rosemary didn't smell good enough and that salt and pepper on the pork, we're adding that garlic smell. Oh yeah. All right, and you can already see this garlic is getting that golden edge that we want. So here we go. Back into the pan with this. More sizzle. And we're going to add in the chicken broth. And our mushrooms. Turn down the heat to a low. That's there. Add in the rest of the mushrooms. Yeah. Put these guys so that they're actually in the sauce. Now it's simmer time. Okay. So simmer means we gotta add the lid back on because we want to keep the moisture in there, and you can see it fogs up really, really quick. And because we lowered the heat, now instead of losing a whole lot of moisture, everything's gonna condense down and come together and just basically take all those delicious smells and turn them into even more delicious flavor. So this is gonna get 10 minutes on the timer. So we'll increase this up 10 minutes starting now. And while that's cooking, we're going to move over to cook our green beans. Gi, new side of the kitchen. So our pork has been simmering for about 4 minutes now, and we're going to move on to getting the green beans ready. So green beans don't take very long. We're gonna put this on to about medium heat just to get the pan warmed up. And we're going to take our olive oil spray and just coat the bottom of it there. And toss our green beans in so that they can get delicious. Yeah. One thing I like to do is add a little bit of garlic, so we're just going to use a little garlic powder and sprinkle it over the top. Yeah. And give these a toss. So they start to get that oil and a little garlic smell. And then I need to stop playing with them because they cook better when you leave them alone for a second. So try to resist, and we'll come back in like a little tiny bit because they don't take very long. Ki, back on this side of the kitchen again. So our green beans are finished, but what we're gonna do is turn them off, but not take them off the heat. So we're just gonna give them a little stir. And if you could smell these guys right here, oh, you just wanna eat them, but right now they're too hot to eat. So we're just gonna let them soak up a little bit more, get soft. And we've got about a minute left on our, well-ish, a minute left on our pork. And then we'll get to plate it up. It's gonna be so exciting. Ki! Whoa! Hot things. Okay. Turn the timer off. One thing that we saw as we were cooking it is we wanted to make sure that both sides of the pork got the juice absorbed into them. So we did flip it over, we did flip the pork chop over when it had about 2 minutes left. So, little ninja tip for you there. So we're gonna uncover it, see how it looks. Oof, steam. Turn the stove off and take a look. Oh my goodness. Just look at that. And that's what we have achieved with the simmer. So you see deliciousness all around. Doesn't it just look amazing? Yes, yes it does. Just look at that. And if we turn it over, oh my goodness, don't leave pork chop. I said if we turn it over, you can see we've got that delicious tenderness on both sides. All that flavor packed in there. Soft mushrooms absorbed into the sauce, contributing their flavor, and our green beans are set to go. So let's plate this up. Ki! Awesome! Oh my goodness! It smells amazing in here. Rosemary and garlic cooking, delicious. Can't wait to dig in. Wrong hand. Oh man, I'm so excited. Right. Ooh, look at that. Deliciously tender pork. Not tough at all. So let's scoop a little tiny bit of mushroom on there so that we get both flavors in there. The moment of truth. Oh my goodness. Rosemary, garlic, pork, mushroom. Mwah! Deliciously simmered together. I cannot wait to eat the rest of that. Oh, I didn't even try a green bean. Green beans are green beans. We did cook it in a little bit of garlic, but gotta get those veggies in, right? So let's add a green bean. And because we didn't cook the green beans too long, they still have a nice crunch to them, but they've got awesome flavor. So good. If you give this recipe a try, you have to let me know what you think of it. simmering it down so that we get that awesome consistency. It cooks through the pork. It's not too dry. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining me for another awesome episode. I look forward to cooking with you again next time on the next episode of Karate Chopped. Ki! Hi! I'm way over here! I lost count. That's only step number 2. Oh. Toss. Closer. Ki! I got so excited I knocked myself off balance. One more time. Yeah! We did it! Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs. And we ate one. No!